Welcome, everyone, to SI Media with Jimmy Traina. Thank you so much for listening. Big show this week. We got the start of the NFL season, so we have Julian Edelman, Super Bowl champion, obviously from the Patriots, and he is joining Fox's pre-game show. It's Fox NFL Kickoff, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. He's now part of that crew. So Julian talks about going into TV, going into media, joining Fox. Great stories about Belichick, Brady, Gronk. Talk about betting, some other NFL news with Edelman. Following Julian, SI Media podcast regular John Oran joins the show to talk about the big dispute between Spectrum Cable and ESPN and Disney, which is really ESPN. 15 million cable subscribers do not have ESPN right now because of this dispute. No one better to break it down than John Oran. We also get into Sunday Ticket on YouTube and college football ratings and a few other things with John. And then Traina Thoughts with Sal Licata closes out the show. We go through some week one NFL betting lines, talk about the U.S. Open, and some other things with Sal. So we have all that coming up. Before we get to it, real quick, if you missed it last week, over the Labor Day weekend, we dropped a pod last week. Greg McElroy from ESPN and comedian Jared Freed with the guests. 2 weeks ago, Charles Barkley. Feedback's been phenomenal. If you missed it, make sure you check it out. Peter Schrager 3 weeks ago. Chris Mad Dog Russo 4 weeks ago. So if you missed any of those, check them out in the archive. Subscribe to SI Media with Jimmy Traina and leave a review on Apple. We're definitely going to read those next week. All right. Julian Edelman, followed by John Oran, followed by Traina Thoughts, all right here, right now on SI Media with Jimmy Traina. All right. Joining me now, Super Bowl champion and now in the media. He's joining Fox's Fox NFL Kickoff, which is at 11 a.m. Eastern every Sunday. A little pregame action. Julian Edelman. Julian, how's it going?
Going well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well because football is here. So
football is back.
Thank God.
It is fully back. I mean,
I wish Travis Kelce wasn't hurt because I feel like that takes a little bit away from the opening game, but it is what it is.
If you look at it, though, over the last however many years the Kansas City Chiefs have been on this run, they've had relatively pretty decent health throughout their whole thing. I mean, they lost the left tackle in the Super Bowl. That's why they lost against, Brady. They couldn't protect Patrick Mahomes. But it's getting to that time in their era where it ggets hard, being a guy that's been on one of those teams, a dynasty. They're not there quite yet, but they're well on their way if they can stay healthy.
And you would know better than anyone about dynasties. So when would you say they're there? How many would they have to win before you say they're a dynasty?
3. Everyone knows it's 3. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Everyone keeps on talking like, oh, this is you win 2. No. It doesn't matter if you get to the Super Bowl. We went to 8 straight AFC championships or something like that. Like, you got to win 3 to get to be in. Cowboys, previous Patriots, Niners, Steelers. It's not 2. It's not 2.
So tell me, I want to get into your Fox gig and transitioning to media, but since we're on it, it's a good topic because I'm just curious because one of the things I'm looking at is someone who's scouting over-unders to bet and who's going to win the AFC and stuff like that. The motivation, I shouldn't say the motivation. I mean, I think the motivation is there even if you win, but is it difficult? How difficult is it after winning 2 like they've won?
It's very difficult.
To get geared up every Sunday.
People don't realize how hard it is once you go out and win a Super Bowl. Okay, now they have 2 that when you win that first one, you become a target. Everyone circles you on the schedule. You win another one, now everyone's circling. Now divisions and conferences are designing their teams to beat you. So it gets harder and harder. And as an individual player, your motivation, you have to pull what's motivating you because natural human instinct, you're like, oh, we got this, we're good. And then, something happens. You have injuries here, an injury there. A player doesn't sign back because no 2 teams are the same. It's a new team every year. So it's very hard mentally to keep it going, and they have a leader in Patrick Mahomes that can do that. We had Tom Brady. Tom Brady was always on. He was like he was always motivated. And so that gives you hope for the Kansas City Chiefs because they have such a great player in Patrick Mahomes, who's their leader. Their best player is their quarterback, is their leader. And the way he is huge.
Do you think the intensity to beat the Chiefs, dethrone the Chiefs, is similar to what you guys experience? And I ask you from this standpoint, and I hope you don't take offense to this, but I feel like the Chiefs are not hated in any way. I feel like no one dislikes Mahomes. No one dislikes Andy Reid. You guys, and I think it was mainly because of your success, but there were people who didn't like Tom for whatever reason. There was the ridiculousness with Deflategate, the stupidest thing ever. People didn't like Belichick, maybe. You guys, I don't think were like completely beloved. Whereas KC seems like, I don't know maybe people are sick of Travis Kelce a little bit. Like, our teams, you think, is amped up to beat the Chiefs as they were you guys?
I think the game's changed. The player has changed just as an overall. I mean, we look at games nowadays, you got guys over here, dapping up, helping guys up. Back when we were playing the Jets when I first got in the league, Bart Scott was mother effing Billy O'Brien on the sideline. Guys were fighting before, it's kind of changed. Yeah. And it could be for good or could be for bad. That's for everyone else to determine. But also, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Patriots were on it for 20 years. Okay. Like when I first got there, they already had 3 Super Bowls and they were on a little drought of, but they were still winning, they went 16-0. They, 14 win seasons. They were still putting out big winning seasons for a longer time. And, the Chiefs just haven't been there. I'm sure the Chiefs keep on doing well. People are going to start hating them too,
Yeah. Yeah. I want to get into some other stuff about the Patriots and Belichick and Brady, but let's talk about you going to Fox. You did Inside the NFL. I enjoyed you on there. I wrote that a couple of times for SI. Now you're going to be on the Fox NFL Kickoff show. It's remarkable. I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe you just know it off the top of your head because you're friends with all these people. But it is remarkable how every Patriot is in media now, is on TV. You've got the McCourtys. Gronk is part of the Fox family. Everyone knows about the Brady situation. McGinnis did TV. Brewski. It's like if you were part of that Patriot team. Go ahead.
Love winners.
Yeah.
People love winners.
Yeah.
And they hate them too. So, you get a little bit of both. They're either going to love you or hate you, but they're going to watch you. It's
like you had no choice but to go into TV basically after all that.
It's I don't know. It's when you play for an organization like New England and you've had the success that we had over the years that we played, it opens up a lot of doors and it's plain and simple. That's really what it is. The sacrifice and the efforts that we put into our career helped us after our career. And a lot of guys, they have that hard work mentality that still want to stay in the game, but may not want to be coaches. And that's what media is. That's what I feel. I get my football fix by going into a pre-production meeting, and I haven't done it with Mike Vick or Charles Woodson or Chris Thomas or Peter Schrager yet, but you get your football locker room kind of vibe when you do those. Like when I was on Inside the NFL, I'm sitting there talking with Phil Simms, Patrick, Brandon Marshall, Michael Irving, Ray Lewis, James Brown, and you have these meetings where you just get to sit and talk football. It's before you go on, the lights are shining, but you sit and you're talking stories, you're breaking football down with people that played football. So I think that's a huge probably reason about it. And, it's not, we're used to putting in these crazy hours, 14-hour days, 7 days a week, don't get to see your family. And media, you got to do your homework. You got to watch all the games, but we can still have a life outside of it. Yeah. These guys that go and coach. I mean, people always ask me, why aren't you in coaching? And I go, I did my time. Right. Like I put my 12, 13, 14-hour days in. And when I would leave work, I would see coaches' families in the parking lot, seeing the coaches before they would go to bed because they still had another 3 hours. I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
And then if you go somewhere else where it's not like that, then I'm mentally all messed up because Well, there's some people that are doing it, so it's just, I'm happy where I'm at. I'm excited to go out and entertain and talk my knowledge.
When you were playing in your playing days towards the end of your career, did you think you would get into TV, or did you not think about it while you were playing?
I didn't necessarily think I'd become an analyst and do what I'm doing right now. I always enjoyed creating content, whether it was our YouTube videos, our Instagram videos, and all the content we built on around JE11, that was booming with the Patriot Nation that would always support. I found a niche in that, and I enjoyed that process of creating content, going in and sitting in a editing room and filming up all this stuff and thinking it's going to be terrible, and then cutting it down, and then having your other team, because there's a team of people that put the work into to get this good content out, and I enjoyed it. So I didn't know it was going to be to the extent of what I'm doing right now, but I knew I was comfortable in front of a camera, and I know I got a face for radio, but thank God I won a lot of games.
Just tell me, were there other networks like in the running to get your services? Was it just Fox? Like, how'd you end up at Fox? Why Fox? Tell me a little bit about joining Fox.
I don't want to say any other names. There was another network that was involved, and I sat down and I thought Fox would be perfect. I got a couple old teammates there with Gronk, Brady. I'm really excited to get to hang out with Charles Woodson and talk football with Mike Vick and Chris Thompson and Peter Schrager. And Fox is like if you know the story behind Fox, I mean, they were created as this little small sport network with John Madden. I love John Madden. He was the face of it, and it was just like, it just worked out.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'm kind of pissed at Schrager because he was on here 3 weeks ago, and he's a good friend of mine, and he said there was going to be a new person joining the show, but he wouldn't say who it was, and it turned out to be you. It would have been nice if he would have shared that news.
Come on, Peter. We DM'd a couple times, via social media, but like, what do you call him? Like Shreg?
I call him Shregs. Yeah, great guy. You'll love him.
Yeah, I watch him on Good Morning Football, and I love his takes on, like, he never brings a player down. He always sees a positive light on failures or something. He's always bringing a positive spin on it. I'm not like that. I'm absolutely not like that. I need a little more of that in my life, so I'm excited to be with around Peter Schrager, that positive energy. Is
that a product of playing for Bill Belichick for so long, do you think?
That probably helps. My dad was very tough.
Yep.
And I was always my number one critic. It was never good enough, or that's just how it goes when you're an ultimate competitor.
Yeah, I've said about Tom for a couple of years now. I'm a huge Brady fan, and I think he's going to be great when he does this for Fox. And I've said, if you're paying attention and you're not just someone who hates Tom Brady because he beat your team, if once he got out of New England and went to Tampa Bay, I think we saw what his personality is. Do you feel like you guys had to be bottled up a little bit playing for Belichick, or am I off on that theory that Tom, and I think even you, I mean, you always had personality, but I feel like, and Gronk, I feel like once you got out of New England, we saw it even more. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. There's an expectation. Okay. There's an expectation on how to handle the media, and when you see your best players, when I got there, you see how Teddy Bruschi, Kevin Falk, Tom, how they handled the media. It was all about ball. Nothing was bigger than ball. And I came in at a different time where social media started coming on, and that gave me an outlet to go out and show my personality. But when it came to talking to, Fox or NBC or CBS after a game, we knew an expectation that everything had to be about ball. So That's really what it is. That's how Coach Belichick is. But you still got to see people's personality in some form or fashion. And I feel like he's softened up a little bit. He's been, I heard him talking about Taylor Swift, her mental toughness about performing with the rain elements.
Yes.
Only coach would find, how she's mentally tough because she went out and performed under pressure of the rain. Yeah. It's an opportunity. He would say that. He would say, this is an opportunity to work in the wet ball, the wet mud.
Have you seen the Eras tour? Because it seems like a ton of athletes have seen the Eras tour.
Yeah. I took my daughter and her two friends over here in LA in the last show. And it was remarkable. She's I heard someone talking about it. I don't want to botch who it was. I forgot their name, but it was right up there with her performance and just the stage and the sets and the it was like a Michael Jackson kind of performance production. Yeah. Like, it was extraordinary. Yeah. No matter what, something of her. She's been around so long, one of her songs, 3 of her songs, 5 of her songs.
Right.
And you just have a smile the whole time while she's there.
I've said this before. Forget who the singer is, forget what the songs are. Take all that out. Anyone who does 3 hours deserves a massive amount of credit. Just that alone. 3
hours the whole time. And it was impressive. And it wasn't like it was 3 hours take, once a week. She's going 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah. Just tying up the Belichick thing. Is there anything, I don't know what kind of insight you could share, but would anything piss Belichick off more than someone making headlines or getting out of line, with the media, or were there internal rules that would get him even more mad than that? Obviously, maybe like missing a practice, being late for practice, but in terms of his rules, where would generating headlines and giving bulletin board material rank in his sort of hierarchy of things that would piss him off?
It's kind of like a sin. One sin's all sin. It doesn't matter if you murder someone or you cheat on your wife or do something crazy. Like, they're all, or you run a red light, or sin's a sin.
Yeah.
To Coach Belichick.
Got it. I have a couple of fun things I want to discuss with you, but I always love having ex-players on who are in the league recently, just to pick your brain about some of the things going on with current players and current things that are going on. One of the big storylines, I shouldn't say storylines, but one of the big things that's going on is there have been players getting in trouble with the gambling issue, which I think is just the hypocrisy of the NFL getting all this money from gambling, and then someone can't go bet, a parlay or whatever. But what's your perspective as a player? Like, do you think the rules are too strict? Do you think players need to just follow the rules better? How would you handle it? Is it really tough for players to know what they're allowed to do, what not? I guess someone got in trouble because they're betting on an app from the facility, but if they were doing it somewhere else, it wouldn't be a problem. Like, it seems convoluted, but what's your take as someone who just got out of the league and now gambling is so prominent?
When I was in the league, we used to have some old mafia guy come in and tell us that he used to, we'd have a presentation and how, you're a target as an NFL guy for, wise guys to come out and try to, wine and dine you for some info. They kind of told us and educated us on how dangerous that whole thing is. But that it's the NFL, it's their rules and it's their regulations. Who was it? It was a coach that was doing a bet at the facility. Wasn't it a coach or was it a player?
I know. I think I don't want to sound disrespectful. I think one of the issues why people don't know exactly what's going on is because it hasn't been big name players yet. Calvin Ridley was the biggest name player. But my take on it is, unless someone's fixing a game, who cares if NFL players are... the only issue is if someone's fixing a game.
You can't bet on the game.
Right, but what I'm saying is you guys make so much money, no one's going to be on the take. If Calvin Ridley's making whatever he makes, let's say $5 million a year, no one's going to offer him any amount of money that's going to come close to make it worthwhile for him to fix a game. It's just a ridiculous notion. So if the guy wants to bet a parlay, let the guy bet a freaking parlay and enjoy his life.
Yeah, bet a parlay on basketball. Don't do it on football. The number one, Pete Rose is still not in the Hall of Fame for this. We have examples of people that have done this and it's been frowned upon. Like if it's that big of a deal, you probably have a problem. If you know what I mean, because you can go do like you could go to the boys and say, look, I got $20 on our college team, and no one's gonna find out about that. You don't gotta go onto your damn phone and have a paper trail of what you're doing.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like if it's that big of a deal, wait until off season, go to Vegas and get your fix of whatever you want. But you know, I don't know the rules completely.
Yeah, me either.
I'm sure the teams are probably educating them now.
Right.
You know,
and
that's up to the team's responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a league thing. This is a team thing. Well, you know, whoever's in charge of each team, we used to have all these, you know, every night before camp, we'd go over all the rules and regulation like clockwork. Belichick, all right, you know, it's $5.82 a pound now this year. If you're over a pound every day, like we go over all conduct detrimentals, this. You can't gamble. There's no guns. Like we would go over all these goddamn rules, and like that goes to the leadership of the team. I think that putting these guys in situations to even go out there and do that. And if they can't control it, they got a problem. The league's got to look at helping them out.
I just want to clarify my position on this because I know someone's going to listen to this and then send me a tweet and be like, "You're an asshole." Blah blah. I agree. Like NFL players should not be betting on the NFL. Totally get it. I'm down with that. My issue is that the length of the suspensions and the punishment seems so like for Calvin Ridley to be suspended for a year for betting when he wasn't like fixing a game or betting against his team. Like I think it's the punishment. He bet like a $1,500 parlay on, you know, with the Falcons. He bet the Falcons to win. He bet his own team.
Can't bet on your team, bro. Like that is so like.
I agree, but I don't think
that.
I think a year.
If you're, and I know he was hurt, which when you're hurt, you're in a different mind state. Maybe it made him feel like he was part of the team. You know, hey, I'm going to put some skin on the boys. No, you can't do that.
Right.
You can't gamble.
I agree. I just think a year is harsh. That's my only.
Well, he was the first one. They got to set an example. You know.
Right.
Never want to be the first one in any of those things.
It's true. Couple of things. You know, there are a lot of people who don't think Tom will join Fox next year. They think for whatever reason he's going to bail. I disagree. I think he's going to do it, and I think he's going to be great. If you had a guess, like you think Tom goes through and he's going to Fox next year?
I'm sure in some form or capacity he'll be doing something.
Yeah.
I don't know the length of what he's going to be doing. I haven't talked to him about it, but I have the same stance as you. If he's going to do it or whatever he's going to do, he's going to be great at it because I'm sure he's hearing people, oh, Brady doesn't have no personality. He can't do this. He can't do that. He probably hears that, and he's probably going to be sitting there. There's going to be like a Brady 6 on like people that – call games. He's going to be crying after like 10 years of doing this. Like, this guy still doesn't think I'm a good announcer. You know what I mean? So he that guy creates his own fire. So if and when or where or what, he's going to be great.
Yeah, I agree. I saw a clip of you talking recently. I think it was on your podcast with Sam Morril, Games with Names, where, obviously everyone knows you and Brady are tight. You got along famously, but I guess there was a little bit of friction there because he wanted you to do the TB12 and you were not down with doing the TB12.
No,
go ahead.
So I did the TB12 with the JE11 collab. So I would take things from the TB12 method. I'm really close with Alex Guerrero. He's helped me through a lot of injuries, and those guys, they're very disciplined, and he was on the field for as long as he was for a reason, for all the hard work and dedication that they put into their body. I would just pick and pull on what I could use because, I needed, everyone knows Tom doesn't love that. Like, you can't be doing back squats or like crazy, like explosive stuff. But like when you're a 5'10" little white guy in the NFL, you need to be exploding all the time. It's different. So we would get in little arguments about certain things. But I was pretty much in it. The method.
Now, what about the food angle of it, though? Were you doing no strawberries and no tomatoes and?
Nah, I would get my blood pulled, and then I would have it analyzed by some, professional that shows your inflammation factors. So, I mean, that could very well be true for some people. I don't know, but I was tailoring my diet to what my body digested the best.
You do a phenomenal Belichick imitation. Do you have a Tom imitation of him, like maybe trying to recruit you to the TB12 or explaining why you need to TB12 it? Like, you said you guys would have disagreements or arguments. How would they go down exactly?
He gets real passive aggressive and petty with how he'll pull my string when he pulls my string. If I got hurt, I sprained an ankle on rolling it or something. Bro, you shouldn't have been squatting. Something like that. I'm like, what does a squat have to do with me cutting and rolling my ankle? He goes, babe, you're not fully in. It stuff like that. It would piss me off. I would get so goddamn mad at him.
Babe, you're not fully in. It's phenomenal.
He's there was that one on his little documentary. What was his documentary? The TB versus Time or something. Tom versus Time, where we got in an argument. We were all in Montana about lifting and stuff, and I did go on to tear my ACL that year. Thanks for the bad juju, Tom.
I was gonna say, what was his comment after that?
Nah, he won't. When I'm really down, he doesn't push me.
Right. And now Gronk is at Fox. He's on the pregame show that follows your pregame. I always call your show the pregame show, and then there's the other one, and Gronk's on that. Did you ever think Gronk would get into TV? I mean, listen, no one has a better personality than Gronk, but it didn't seem like TV would be like his thing. But he's embraced it. It seems like.
I mean, he's fun and that. He's got a contagiousness about his personality that whatever he's doing, it's fun. And you see that on TV. He's having fun. He's cracking jokes. He's the big guy. He's like the big teddy bear. That's just him. And I think he's embraced it, and I think he kills it on TV.
I think Gronk's first viral moment on TV had to do with you, where he was talking about you. And I mean, he was trying to talk about you being a squirrel, I guess. But, we're out here, all of us, we get very, we're all looking for phrasing. And he talked about how you always get your nut. And it was just Gronk being Gronk. I don't think the brain was even, were you, how did you become aware of that and what he said? And did you react to it with him at all?
I laughed. I laughed. I mean, that's just Gronk.
Yeah,
he gets into almost like a WWE character when he's doing his bit. You know what I mean? And it's just that's the Gronk.
Yeah,
I was wondering about wrong.
Yeah, I was wondering about someone
69 all the time, and he still does kid stuff and kid. You know what I mean? But that's him. He's just a lovable man.
He is. I also saw a clip, and now this is going to be the dumbest thing anyone's ever asked you, and I'm embarrassed, but I figured I'd ask you since I have you, instead of trying to guess. There's a clip from your podcast where you talked about having beef with Ben Affleck, and I watch it, and I'm like, I think he's serious. Then I'm like, I think he's kidding around and playing around. I'm like, you know what? I think he's a little serious. I don't think he's totally kidding around. Give me were you serious with the Affleck beef? Was it you were playing around, but you were pissed because he said Tom needs more weapons, and you took that personally? What?
I'll just go on record and say I'm a Casey Affleck guy.
Not a fan of Gone Girl,
I just like Casey.
Okay,
I just like.
Fair enough.
He's my favorite Affleck.
You mentioned earlier about doing
great movie. Great movie.
What movie? Say that again.
See.
Yeah.
Great movie.
I was going to say something, but I probably should. You mentioned earlier about doing YouTube videos and Instagram videos. I was a big fan back in the day of your Burger Time video, the Burger Time series. Are you still like a diehard burger aficionado?
Yeah, I'm a professional.
Tell me, now you played in New England, you're in LA. Where's the best burger? Not place, but like, are there better burgers? East Coast, West Coast? I know LA, everyone went the In-N-Out, but like, give me break it down.
Right. Like East Coast burgers, you go to New York, you go to like Boston, they got like a real pub style fat thick burger. That's they're traditionalists on New York. We like to taste the beef. We want just cheese, beef, maybe some onion and a big brioche bun. We got to taste the beef. In California, smash burgers are like so hot right now. Everyone does a smash burger. Like, every burger tastes the same, has a special sauce. So it just depends on what your flavor is. And then you go to like Minnesota, you get the Juicy Lucy.
What's that?
It's where they put like cheese in the middle of the burger.
Oh, okay.
It's called a Juicy Lucy. Very big in Minneapolis, I think.
So what's the single best burger Julian Edelman has ever had in his life?
It's tough. It's tough.
But do you ever have do you think back like, oh my God, I got to go back to that place.
I'm a sucker for Four Charles over in New York.
Four Four? Yeah,
it's Four Charles. It's a spectacular burger joint, and like it's so hard to get in. I literally just won Super Bowl MVP. I tried to go in. They still turned me down. I had to go onto like some website to get a damn reservation.
Wait a second. Stop. I need this full story. You won the Super Bowl. You try to go to this place and they don't let you in?
No, I won the Super Bowl MVP. I'm out there doing a press tour. And I'm like, I got to try this Four Charles. Everyone's talking about it. And they wouldn't let us in. So I had to literally go on. I was doing like a radio show on Sirius. I was like, can anyone give me a goddamn reservation to this fucking Four Charles? I'm sorry if you can't swear on your website.
You could curse. You could curse.
This is how passionate I am about this.
Yeah. Well, why didn't they let you in? I don't understand. Why didn't they let you in?
I don't know. It kind of turned me on. It made me want more.
I have to say though, I have a newfound respect for you because this place won't let you in, and you're saying they have the best burger. That's very big of you.
Yeah, I mean, burgers, you got to tell the truth. That's a bigger burger.
How'd you finally end up?
Place, huh?
How'd you finally end up getting the burger after they didn't let you in?
I literally went on to a radio show while I got turned down that same week. I was on like a press tour promoting a documentary. 100% on Showtime. And I was like, can anyone get me a reservation? And like some guy DM'd me and was like, yeah, you could take my spot. And I went in with some high expectations. And I was pissed off. And the place, they came out with these white gloves. They come out with white gloves. These guys come and they serve the burger with white gloves and they cut it in half for you with white gloves on. And you sit and you eat it. And they got a great French fry. It's spectacular. Really good burger. And their French dip could be just as good. I'm a big French dip guy as well. That place is spectacular. And then a different style burger in New York. I'll hit my New York. Raoul's.
Okay.
It's over in Soho. It's got like a peppercorn dipping sauce. And I'm super traditionalist with burgers. I don't want this weird stuff. It's a French place. It's I think a steak and frites joint. And you can only go to the bar to eat the burger. And I went there and I went on, this place is going to suck. This is terrible. Dipping in this peppercorn sauce and it knocked my socks off. It was spectacular. And then out in LA, like I said, everyone's on the smash burger craze. You got Burger She Wrote, For the Win. Burgers Never Say Die. They're all solid. But
Burger She Wrote is the best name I've ever heard for a burger place.
Yeah, they got a good burger. It's over. There's one in Silver Lake and one over on 3rd over in West Hollywood. It's very good.
This is such a fat person question, but I'm just curious. But can shitty fries hurt your burger review or ranking? Like, I feel like if the fries are subpar, it makes me like the burger even less a little bit. Or is that crazy?
No, the fry can only make the burger better. It can never bring it down.
Makes sense.
If you have a good burger, like In-N-Out doesn't have the best fries, but they have a consistent. I would put them at the top of lists of fast food burgers. Consistent, always good.
Five Guys has the best fries, correct?
McDonald's has the best fries.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I was going on like the.
This guy an amateur. I'm still an amateur.
I count McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's. I count separate from like the Five Guys, In-N-Out. Like,
I agree with that somewhat. In-N-Out, Shake Shack. Those guys are the upper echelon. Those are like the Fridays, and then the McDonald's is like Applebee's.
Exactly.
One step, but kind of in that same realm.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you got Nathan's, and I don't know if you're a Nathan. If the Nathan's could
hot dogs.
No, the fries.
I'm not a big. I don't know Nathan's that well.
If you need to be back in New York for that, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
And I do love a good hot dog. Love a good.
There you go. Two things, and I appreciate the time. Getting back to what I said about I like talking to players who just got out of the league. I saw something this morning, and I got to ask Julian about this. Chris Jones, everyone knows, is holding out with the Chiefs. We don't know if he's playing Thursday. And I saw something that, as of now, he owes like $2 million to the Chiefs in fines. And I saw that, and I said to myself, let's say he signs by Thursday. How does that work? He really has to write them a check for $2 million, or will they say to him like, "Oh, forget the $2 million"? Like,
I think because it's not a rookie deal that it's not wiped off if they sign. If it's a rookie deal and you're sitting out, they can wipe that off. I think he has to pay for it, but I'm sure his agent will be like, "Hey, we want $33 million this year, and you can take that." So it'll be a payroll deduct, I believe.
Yeah, because my thing is like if he has to give them $2 million and they take it, I would think he'd be pissed off at the team, and then like that's not good. All right, I want to end with this.
That's why we sit as a union and negotiate a collective bargaining agreement that we all just love. Right? We all love this agreement, and they get it. They get it right every time. Yeah. Every time.
One thing I wanted to ask you about the gambling. You did a lot. I know you did a lot of stuff. I think for Win.
Yeah, WinBet. And Win Resorts.
There you go. Vegas. Beautiful place.
Or Boston Harbor.
Will you bet any like futures in terms of like over under team wins?
Yeah, I bet last year that the Patriots were going to get over 8.5. And I knew when I was at the Las Vegas Raiders game and we sucked that game away that it's a game within inches, and I knew that game would come down to haunt me, and it did, and we didn't.
I just remembered. You were there, right?
I was there.
You were there. You had it. That was a phenomenal video. Your reaction to that play, the throw backwards. I remember that now. It just hit me.
Phenomenal.
Your reaction.
What did I put on it? I put $50,000 on this thing.
I didn't say the bet was phenomenal. I said your reaction to losing the bet was phenomenal. For those of us in the content game, we appreciate that.
Yeah, I wore on. I went dressed out for that game, Canadian tuxedo, jean on jean, and it didn't work. There was nothing good. Nothing went well that day.
Do you have an over under that you'd love this year?
I haven't gone over my bets yet. Like I literally did the first week of spreads last night. I got to start see where we're at. But I
was going to say you've been very.
Give me a couple. Do you have any?
Yeah, I got a couple that I love. I was going to say you've been very nice, and I appreciate all the time. But I was going to say like you need to step it up because the season's about to start. So you need to do your gambling scouting. That's more important than your Fox scouting.
I'm fully in on gambling scouting, but I am a Fox analyst. So what I've been doing as of late has been watching film and learning for all these guys.
Forget that. I'm not saying this because I'm a New Yorker because I'm not a Giants fan, but I do like the Giants over 7.5. I love Daboll. I think he's great. I think they're going to be.
I went and watched them in training camp, and I love Daboll too. And I take over that. They're going to have over that.
Yeah, I think Daniel Jones will be better.
He's going to be way better.
Yeah,
and they got Wallard. Wallard, if he stays healthy, will have 120 catches.
All right, I'll run down some of these here for you. And stop me when oh, here it is. Stop me if one of these grabs you. I'll just read them out. And Chiefs 11.5, Lions 9.5, Arizona 3.5, Falcons 8.5, Ravens 10.5. Nothing grabbing you so far? I'll keep going.
About Arizona, and I was listening to old Lombardi talk about that whole injury guarantee, where in theory they may not play Kyler Murray and do like that whole it's what is it called? What you're not supposed to do in the NFL? Yeah,
tank.
Tank. Yeah, I didn't want to say it. I don't know but that one kind of is close.
Okay. Bills 10.5, Panthers 7.5, Bears 7.5, Bengals 10.5. While we were taping this, Joe Burrow said he's playing on Sunday. Browns.
We all knew that. Joe Burrow hadn't played in a preseason or a training camp his whole damn career.
Browns 9.5, Cowboys 10.5, Broncos 8.5.
Ooh, they're in a tough division. 8.5. I'm taking the over. Sean Payton, he'll get him 9 wins.
Okay. Packers 7.5, Texans 6.5, Colts 6.5, Jaguars 9.5. Everyone loves the Jaguars this year.
Everyone loves the Jaguars. That makes it kind of reminded me when I threw $50,000 on the Philadelphia Eagles to win the Super Bowl. Everyone, and when it caught me. It caught me. I even threw a goddamn billboard up in Arizona that it's going to be a great day for Eagles. I jumped on the Eagles bandwagon, which I'm not. And then everyone started talking about it. When everyone starts talking about it, don't happen.
Right. Of course.
And that's and then I had night before the game, I had dinner with Cliff Kingsbury, and he told me that Patrick Mahomes, I was worried about the ankle. The ankle looked terrible, and he told me Patrick Mahomes is on fire. He had a look in his eye, and I went to win. I was like, can I change my goddamn bet? And they're like, no, you can't.
Wait. You went to win and said, can you change your bet?
No, I didn't say that, but I was doing it for the.
I almost let that go. I was trying to be a good host, and then the gambler in me came out. You can't go and say
I had to stick with what I stuck with because.
So you lost 50,000 on the Eagles, 50,000 on the Patriots. Is this why you're at Fox now? You need the paycheck.
Yeah, check these days.
Chargers 9.5, Rams 6.5, Raiders 6.5.
I'm taking that over.
Jimmy G over.
Jimmy G stays healthy over. What's going on with Chandler Jones in this whole thing? You see that?
That social media, boy. I tell you, you stayed out of the social media trouble, right? You haven't caused any.
I had a girl that exposed me on Snapchat after a Super Bowl. I mean, do you not remember that?
I do remember it. I wouldn't have brought it up since you did. But that didn't make you look bad. Like, that's like, okay, I'll give you one. Don't get mad at me. I'm not trying to, like, your boy. I know you're tight with Amendola. Like, that was a bad one. That was a bad one.
He hopped off social media for 3 years after that. Literally.
Yeah.
He just got back on.
That was a bad one. That was nothing like yours. You had nothing to do with yours. You didn't do anything wrong there. He went on there and, Olivia Culpa. It was bad.
You can't make an emotional decision on those apps. You can't make emotional decisions.
Yeah, exactly. I forget these over-unders. Because you've been so good. You told one of the best stories in the history of the NFL about Belichick, where you caught him one night in a hot tub late, and then he was on the treadmill and you were still at the facility. I don't know. I mean, Nick Bosa has agreed to a 5-year, $170 million extension.
Is he having right now?
Yep, just right now. Breaking news.
170?
Yeah, 5 years.
What's guaranteed?
$122.5 million.
Man,
the people on YouTube will love that for the face Julian just made.
120 million. Man,
guaranteed.
That shit ain't there. I'll tell you that right now.
All the beating you took over the middle and you can't get that money.
I didn't play for the money. I played for the memories. All right.
Right. Tell me, I don't know if you want to retell that story or if you have a different Belichick story, but I'm fascinated by Belichick. I love the guy. There was a great clip, we talked about it before about giving teams. There was a clip I saw last week, an old NFL Films clip where Derek Mason, I think, was talking shit to Belichick, and Belichick just says, "Shut the fuck up and look at the scoreboard," which is just that's the perfect response to anything. Do you have anything Belichick? You want to tell that story again? But I'd love to get something from you on Bill before we end it, if you don't mind. Anything funny he ever said that stuck with you? Anything.
So as soon as we have our last mini camp or OTA practice, he'd bring us all in for like an exit meeting, and he'd go around the league and read what people were saying to the media, like this guy, and he would sit and read it. We're going to go on, win the Super Bowl. And like, it'd be like someone from the Browns or something. He's like, this fucking guy, these guys haven't fucking won a game. And like, he just it was reiterating to the players, like, don't be saying stupid shit. We're leaving the facility right now. There's going to be a microphone in your face at some time. But he would just go on. And he goes, this fucking asshole. These guys. This guy, he says he's going to lead the league in sacks. He had 2 sacks last year. What the fuck is this? Just he would make examples of what people did. And then with his dry sarcasm and how he would, everyone would be sitting like, if you're a young player, you couldn't laugh. But if you're an older player that made plays for a few years, you could laugh by then. Yeah. So
that's great. That's all. Were you scared of him?
Wasn't, my first few years. I mean, he's got a presence about him. I wasn't. It's kind of like the principal. Are you scared of the principal? But when the principal walks by and you're kind of a knucklehead, you're going to point your shoulders back and kind of be on alert. Yeah. That's kind of how it was.
Were you intimidated or scared of Tom at all? Or were you too close to Tom to be scared or intimidated?
At first I wasn't intimidated. I was more, I didn't want to let him down on any opportunity. If when I was a younger player, or even when I was an older player, if he was going to come to you, or if he was going to call a play in the huddle when I was a younger player, I wanted to know where I wanted to go immediately out of the huddle. I wanted to know my personnel group. I wanted to know my play. I wanted to make, you just didn't want to let him down.
Yeah. And was he good at, I get the impression he was really good at taking a ribbing from you guys. Would you guys bust his chops? Tom?
Yeah. There wasn't when I got there was guys that could rib him and could bust his balls. But then by the time I became an older player, he was in the league for so long that, the younger players in the team weren't even born by the time he was winning. He was in the NFL when they were 3 years old. So he had an aura about him where guys were scared and they were intimidated when they saw famous Tom with his, his life and Super Bowl champion and who he was. So that was kind of my role, was to kind of bust his balls and make him human. And he liked it because no one else really did at the late part of, our career.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's great. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Everyone can see Julian Edelman on Fox NFL Kickoff starting on Sunday. Are you still doing the pod Games with Names during the season, or is that on?
Yeah, we had some really good guests. I can't say them yet, but
okay,
some really good guests these last 2 weeks.
All right, so Fox NFL Kickoff for Julian Edelman this Sunday, and then Games with Names, great podcast he does with comedian Sam Morrell. And appreciate you coming on and giving me all this time. I had a lot of fun, and good luck with Fox this year.
Thanks, bud.
And with the wagers. More importantly, good luck with the wagers.
Yeah, I'll have to call you and we'll go over some of these wagers, because if the thing about betting, if you're in the game, if you played the game, You can't. It's so hard to bet just because you don't know how that week. You got to really be in around a team to know what kind of results you're going to get, because you don't know. Maybe, some dude slept with some other guy's girlfriend. A week of practice is not out. They're not talking. This happens. Team's not practicing well on Wednesday, Thursday. Like there's so many things that go into it. And it's the National Football League. Everyone gets paid. Everyone's good. You're not playing, the School of Agriculture of Carolina week when you're Alabama.
It's funny you say that, because I've always said this. I said it to a buddy of mine came over the weekend. We were betting all the college games. And I said, I think you're much safer betting the NFL than college, because I think to put your hard-earned money on college kids, I do it. I can't help it. I have a problem. Is really dumb, because you don't know who's hungover. Like you said, who's on Instagram till 5 a.m. trying to pick up this model. Then, college kids, to put your money on them is really insane. Yeah. Professionals, I think for the most part, maybe you have a couple out of the 53 who are not doing, but for the most part, most of those 53 are going to be professional.
Prop bets. I like prop bets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are always good, like catches or something.
Well, feel free to DM me. You probably don't know this, but you follow me on Twitter, so you can DM me anytime you want. And
I do.
I'll give you.
Yeah. You got good information.
You didn't know that. It's all right. Yeah. All right, Julian. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
All right, but I'll see you.
Take care. All right, joining me now, SI Media podcast regular. Appreciate him coming on from Sports Business Journal and, of course, the Marchand and Oran podcast. Figured this was a great week to have him on with Sunday Ticket debuting on YouTube, and then this whole cable battle between ESPN, Disney and Charter Spectrum. He is John Oran with his Orioles jacket in the background if you're watching on YouTube, and he should be very happy about his Orioles. John, how are you?
That's a circa. That was my birthday present when I turned 16, circa 1983 starter jacket. I love it.
And the Orioles, they have not faded. They keep going. They're getting better and better. It's good. We've seen like Texas fade, but the Orioles, no fading.
I thought they had these young kids. I thought they were going to tire. Like some of these pitchers, they've already thrown more innings than they have in their entire career. I was expecting their arms to fall off. So knock wood, Jimmy, knock wood.
So I wanted to have you on to talk about the Spectrum Disney cable battle, because I've gotten a lot of people asking me about it, and this is not my area of expertise. It's yours. But I want to start, before we get to that, let me start with the college football ratings, because they've come out over the last couple of days and very, very strong for week one. Let me start with this. LSU Florida State on Labor Day night, Sunday night, not a competitive game in the second half. 9.1 million viewers, and that is without the 15 million Spectrum subscribers. That's college football, ESPN, they have to be very happy out of the gate with that. And we'll get to Fox in Colorado, but let's start there.
Yeah, that number blew me away solely because if you take a look at they're missing 15 million subscribers, which is, I can't do the math right now, but double digits, 15%, 20% of their total distribution number. And so getting a number that comes that high for a game that wasn't particularly good, mind you, that game was on ABC.
Right.
And that it's not 15 million ABC homes that have been dropped, because there are some ABC channels that are not owned by Disney that are still up and able to carry it on charter subscriptions. It's only the Disney owned ABC channels that are off.
Got it. Yeah, it's so confusing.
I know.
And then
I just heard a bunch of your listeners click off at that explanation.
No. They want to know about this. We'll get to it. And then Fox had 7.2 million for Colorado TCU. And they have Fox again in week two they have Colorado again in week 2 against Nebraska. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of win or lose, because I think even if they lose, Deion's the story, not the team. And we're going to see a lot of Colorado, I think, on ESPN, ABC, Fox, et cetera. Correct?
Yeah. In fact, I did a story about Fox. Fox had Colorado for the first 2 weeks of the season, and they developed an entire marketing campaign around Deion Sanders. It included having Deion Sanders lookalikes sort of walking around in the different markets, a fake buffalo, for the Colorado Buffaloes out there. And one thing that their executives said is that this is the first time they've done something like this around a coach in like probably 8 years. And it was when Jim Harbaugh went to Michigan. This is really unusual to have a superstar, a celebrity on the sidelines for a college football team. And you can see Fox diving deep into this. You're going to, like you said, ESPN certainly is going to do the same thing.
And Deion's helping them out. I mean, he did the interview with Aaron Andrews, and he's sort of, you know, it depends how you look at it. I think he turned listen, most people are all in, they're on the bandwagon. He also turned a lot of people off by getting into that press conference after the win and just talking about the media. So he's helping, I think, Fox and ESPN here with being such a character.
Oh, and he knows how to be quoted. And when you say he's helping Fox, this week it's his first home game in Colorado, and he's mic'd up all week. And so Fox is gonna, for the pregame show, you're gonna see a lot of Deion being mic'd up, and he knows he's going to be mic'd up too. So I think it's going to be, you know, if you like Deion, even if you hate Deion, it's going to be totally entertaining.
Absolutely. And NBC had their first Big Ten game on Saturday night. It was, I think, what did they get for that? 3 point something million?
I have the email in my inbox.
I thought I wrote it down. It's a bad job by me. But my question is, do you think they're happy with that first rating out of the gate? I can look it up while you discuss.
Yeah, you know, the early games this Saturday, they have my Maryland Terrapins going against Charlotte in prime time. So I think
if that doesn't captivate America all across from East Coast to West Coast in prime time on Saturday night, I don't know what matchup will.
The ratings in my household are going to be through the roof on that one.
Yes.
So I think that NBC, it's going to be slow, but eventually they're going to have, you know, some cold weather games from some of these Big Ten brands, and they're going to be plenty happy with the primetime package.
And CBS, they just, right before we started, they came out with their rating for the Ohio State Indiana game. Now, CBS, they're in a little bit of an interesting spot because they still have the SEC this year, but they've got a few Big Ten games. They had Ohio State, Indiana, and that drew 4.6 million up against the Colorado game. So I thought that was a pretty solid rating there for CBS for their first game out of the gate.
Again, these numbers that you're saying, like, there's nowhere else in sports that's bringing, nowhere else in television that's bringing in these kind of numbers. And so you talk about, you know, the genres that work on television, and the NFL it's bizarre. It's just, you know, far and away the most popular there is. Second is college football. And then you literally have everything else. It's you know, so there's a big step down to college football, and then there's a big step down to, you know, to the college basketball or really any other sport.
It's interesting. It was 3.7 million for the West Virginia Penn State game on NBC in prime time. 4.6 for Ohio State Indiana at noon. So I would imagine CBS is a little happier than the NBC people today.
Well, maybe, but one thing that Fox has taught us over the past couple of years is they put their biggest game on in the noon window on Saturday, and last season it was the most viewed window of college football. So in television terms, prime time is typically when people are trying to get to prime time, but weekend football terms, in the NFL, the most watched window is not Sunday Night Football. That's sort of the most watched game, but it's the most watched window is 4:30 on the late game on Sunday. East Coast bias there saying 4:30, but it's so there's a habit of afternoon football during the weekend that Fox plugged into, and seeing those numbers and hearing those numbers doesn't really surprise me at all.
Now, let's shift now to this Spectrum Disney situation. I'm going to ask you some basic questions that so what I'm still trying to figure out about all this is Spectrum. I know they had 15 million customers. Are they just in New York? Are they outside of the state of New York? Where is this covering exactly?
They're in big markets. They have they're in Los Angeles. Okay. They're in Dallas, so they're nationwide, but they're typically with cable. You know, you have to go market to market, and so it's in several markets across the country.
Okay. Now, this is not just, we've seen disputes before between cable and networks. We've seen it. I remember when I first got DirecTV, they didn't have the Yes Network for a while. There was a big dispute with that. We know the NFL Network didn't get on a lot of cable things to start off with. But this is different in that there has to be a change in this whole way. You and I have talked about this before with all these streaming services and everything going to streaming and how many different streaming services you need and what's happening with cable and ESPN. I mean, you've done a great job. Whenever you report the numbers, it blows me away. I mean, ESPN going from 100 million subscribers to 70 million through cable. This is not just your regular dispute. Like, this is looking to change the way things are done, correct?
That's the way that Charter wants to paint this. So if you're doing the PR back and forth, Charter is coming out and saying that this system is broken, and we all can see that it's broken, right? I mean, the prices are going up. So Marchand, who is a Charter subscriber, says he pays, I think, $260 a month, for access. That includes all the whole bundle. I mean, that is a huge price to pay for cable. I'm the same way. I have Xfinity down here in DC. And so Charter wants to say, look, this is broken and we need to come up with a solution. If you talk to ESPN, they're going to say, look, if you don't carry us, you're out of video, because we have they had college football opening weekend on over Labor Day weekend. They have the US Open. They have college football coming again this weekend, and then the NFL starts, and they have Aaron Rodgers' first game as a New York Jet. So there's going to be a lot of interest in that game. And then after that game, you have more college football and you have more NFL, and it just kind of keeps going and keeps going.
I actually think more than week one with Aaron Rodgers, I think week two is going to be a major issue, because week two is the first time ESPN has the doubleheader / side-by-side. There's going to be a game on ESPN and a game on ABC on that week 2 Monday night. Both will be blacked out, because ABC is being blacked out from what I've heard we discussed earlier, in some markets, not all markets, but some.
Well, this is
now you're going to lose out on 2 games.
So you're I'm assuming you're a Spectrum subscriber, right?
No, I am not. That's why I have a lot of confusion about this.
Lucky you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm out on Long Island, so Spectrum is not offered here. It's Optimum, but I don't have Optimum. I have Verizon Fios, and I'll just say this quickly. This is not a plug. I don't get paid. I don't get discounts. Verizon Fios is superior to Optimum Cable, at least out here on Long Island. I had DirecTV for 20 years, switched to Fios, couldn't be happier. I think Fios is fantastic. One of the things I'm happy about, which we'll get into, is Fios offers YouTube as like a channel. You don't have to have your smart TV or Apple TV. Like, you can click a channel and go to YouTube, which will be huge during Sunday Ticket. But I am a Fios customer, and it's funny. I texted a friend of mine in the sport. I don't want to use his name because it wasn't known that it would be a public conversation, but he's in sports media. He's been on this podcast, and he had tweeted about the Spectrum. He was having issues that it was blacked out. I said, can you in your area get Fios? Because if you can, you should switch. And he said his wife doesn't want to switch for some other reasons. So he's stuck with Spectrum and he's blocked out of ESPN. But I would just say, if you can switch to Fios in your area, switch to Fios if you have Spectrum. But that's
what on earth could those reasons be for not wanting to switch?
His wife wants a certain channel that's only offered on Spectrum.
Yeah, there you go. Because if Xfinity drops Big Ten Network, I'm gone for whatever else happens to have the Big Ten Network. Even though Maryland certainly isn't a college football powerhouse, at least not yet. Right. Anyway.
Well, that's what's interesting about this is people want their teams, and your teams are going to be on ESPN, ESPN2 during the college football season, Monday Night Football. Obviously, and the timing of this was obviously planned out that it would happen right before college football started and the U.S. Open, correct?
Oh, yeah. That's how ESPN has. Again, ESPN is using a playbook that it has used for the past 25 years, and it has all of its contracts end at a certain time that is going to be most beneficial to them. And it could be for the college bowl games. It could be for the NBA playoffs. And it continues to happen. Okay. But one of the things that I find really interesting about this, quick, is
go ahead.
Just how addicted we all have become to the cable business. Because You're saying you can't get ABC. Well, ABC is an over-the-air station. Presumably, it's available in every single house. I know that I took my antenna off the roof, decades ago. I'm sure most other people have. I would have a hard time. I would have to Google, how do I get access to ABC, even though it is like, even if you're in a market, a charter market, you should be able to watch ABC.
But that's just putting a Band-Aid on the issue. If you're a sports fan, you need more than just
of course,
ABC, CBS, NBC. It solves a problem temporarily. But if you're a sports fan, you need ESPN. There's just no two ways about it. So tell me, what are they trying to set up here? Like, what does Spectrum want out of this?
So, So it's less about what Spectrum wants versus what ESPN wants to me. And there are reams of stories out there, and they've agreed on price. And Spectrum wants access to some of ESPN's direct consumer products, ESPN Plus and Hulu and Disney Plus. But to me, the whole point of this battle is ESPN and Disney. We say ESPN because it really is just ESPN. I don't hear people crying over Disney Channel yet. It's about ESPN and the games. They need to decide whether or not Charter is really willing to just pretty much leave video. And if they don't do a deal with Disney, they're leaving video.
Okay, explain something to me as someone who's really, really dumb, because you've used that phrase twice. I read it in your column. What do you mean by video? Like, when you say video, do you mean out of the cable business?
Yeah.
What do you mean by?
So basically, what has happened over the past probably 15 years or so, ESPN kept getting bigger and bigger rate hikes. So the cable operator, so Charter, had to pay 20% increases per year in order to carry ESPN, and those ended a while ago, but they still get increases on that. The broadcasters saw that, and they decided, well, we want to get paid because we're bigger than ESPN. And so they have something called retransmission consent, and cable operators had to then pay Fox and CBS and NBC the ever increasing amount of money for this. And eventually it's like hogs at a trough. Everybody was getting their money, and now people are abandoning cable to go to streaming. We've talked about cord cutting every time I come on here, Jimmy. And so cable operators like Charter are making less money from offering all those channels. In fact, it's not quite a loss leader, but they're not making a lot of money off of it. And so they're like, why are we getting involved with all of these negotiations, with carrying ESPN, especially when Bob Iger said that he's going to take that ESPN channel and go direct to consumer in a couple of years anyway. So he's basically going to create a competitor to Charter. Why are we paying all that money for it? We can make so much more money off of broadband because we have no programming costs, and off of wireless because we have no programming costs over there, and we'll be a better company that will be better liked by Wall Street.
Again, I mean, I know I sound like a broken record, and people are probably so tired of hearing me say this, but like, I just still don't So let's say ESPN goes direct to the consumer. They're going to charge you between $20 and $30 for it, correct?
That's likely still to be determined. I don't know that. I mean, if they
it's not going to be less. It's not going to be less.
I think that you can look at what Nesson charged for its channel and use that. It's probably around $30, $20, $30.
Okay, so let's say it's $25 just for argument's sake. So you're going to spend $25 a month for ESPN, but you still need Fox, you still need CBS, and you still need NBC. So by the time you're done with everything, you're going to be paying what you paid for cable. I don't see how people don't see this. Am I on just another planet?
No, I look, I still subscribe to cable because I think it's the best value that we have out there.
Right.
But there could be a point to where, like, you're not going to be able to, there could be a point where Charter decides we're not offering video anything other than like maybe the broadcast networks or anything but sort of like a real basic tier of video just for people that want that. And so people talk about in the business, there's going to be like what they say a rebundling. So, everybody we want to pay for what we watch. Well, now they're going to have to rebundle it in order to make it more cost effective.
Right. Give me a time frame on when you see, not the settlement. I'm just curious. Like you said, there could be a rebundling. People said this is a reckoning between cable and companies. When do you see everything sort of change? Like, do you think we're still a couple of years away from maybe Spectrum getting out of video, like you said? I mean, do you have any sort of timetable on when these major changes to the way we consume all this happens?
So most of the people I talk to believe that ESPN and Spectrum are going to reach a deal this go around. That they're not going to walk away this go around. These deals are typically about 4 years long. 4 years from now, when ESPN has already launched its direct to consumer, and when prices become untenable for the charters, I can see that happening. There's in certain markets, there are smaller cable operators. Like there's one called Cable One that already did away with video. It's not. I think it offers a real bare bones video, and they have basically very few subscribers, and they're the darling of the cable industry because what they make on broadband is a clear profit. What they make on wireless is a clear profit, and they don't have this added cost of the programmers for the for their video service. Cable companies are looking at that. They're also looking at Dish Network. We've talked about Dish Network and Charlie Ergen. He did away with the regional sports networks years ago, and everybody thought he was foolish because, hardcore sports fans are going to leave. Well, they did leave, but he still kept enough, and he doesn't have those costs. And like cable operators and other distributors were looking at the profits, and they were like, wow, this is really working for him. That was a good decision for him. So at some point it's going to, the rubber has to hit the road. It doesn't mean ESPN's going away. You can still get it from YouTube TV, Sling TV, right. Hulu. Like you can still get them right. a lot of different areas. It's just saying that the cable operators are really coming to a point where they have to make a decision.
You have any sort of numbers or any intel on people dropping Spectrum since the blackout started of the ESPN channels?
A source at Charter said it's not nearly as many as we would have expected. And a source at ESPN says it's way more than we would have ever expected.
It sounds to me that this is more, from what you're saying, it sounds to me like this is more of an ESPN thing than a Charter thing, Charter/Spectrum.
No, it's a Charter thing. I mean,
okay.
So ESPN is up now. Fox is going to be up eventually, although Fox doesn't really have a streaming service to think of. But Paramount's going to be up, and CBS and NBC is going to come up. I mean, they're setting the table right now for those types of deals.
All right, let's move on to Sunday Ticket on YouTube, which happens in a few days. One thing the NFL had a conference call. Yeah.
When was this? Last week.
2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I think it was.
You're
last week.
You're my favorite on there. We have like Brian Rolap, who's like, the head of all media at the NFL. And you came on with a very Long Island specific question. I loved it. It was great.
What was my question? It was about the Game Mix channel.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the first thing I thought was very interesting about that call was the NFL saying that they will not release any subscription numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we knew the subscription numbers when they were on DirecTV.
We did. I think that we didn't know those numbers though through the NFL. They might be playing a little bit of a game here. So I expect that we're going to find out through YouTube at some point.
Now,
Google's a public company, so I expect that that's not going to be a problem to say.
Okay, good. Yeah, again, a lot of the questions I have come from people I talk to, whether it's my readers, whether it's friends. When it was on DirecTV, they offered a Game Mix channel with the eight 1 o'clock games all on one screen. YouTube is not offering that. When I asked on that call, the NFL said that was a YouTube decision, not an NFL decision. And it's just like, why would you take something, why would you not offer that? What would be a reason to not offer that?
They might look, DirecTV. I know DirecTV had a lot of complaints, but DirecTV had been doing Sunday Ticket since 1996, I believe, or is it 94?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
and they knew how to do these things. It's not easy to do, and sometimes this is YouTube's first bite at this apple, and so
And
like
it's a big apple.
it's a very big apple, and so
Yeah.
I don't know the technical specifics of it,
Right.
but I would think that putting 8 different games on one screen is not the easiest feat to accomplish.
In a
And
streaming world.
and the stream and so
Yeah.
is it something that YouTube could end up doing? Perhaps maybe YouTube gets paid a little bit more for the different clicks and the different views, and it doesn't want to do that. I'm not sure how this works out, but I do know
Interesting.
that what you should expect, because it's the very first time. I mean, Twitter is going to be X, I guess I should say, is going to be
No, say
wild.
Twitter. We say Twitter here. We don't say
Good.
X here.
By
We
the way,
say
I
Twitter.
noticed it's no longer a retweet; it's a repost when I want
It's
to
a
do something.
retweet. It's a retweet. Yeah. I'm not
But
playing that fucking game.
there are going to be some hiccups. They're just going to be. It's the very first time YouTube has a service that people really like and really want, and so this is
I,
when I look at things that I'm looking at for the NFL season. I have the YouTube Sunday Ticket deal circled, because like, are those hiccups that can be rectified pretty quickly, or are they hiccups that sort of like are tough? I mean, I just did a story Wednesday morning about Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, and the NFL wants to have Sunday Ticket down there, and YouTube is unable to do it until November. And so DirecTV was like, all right, the NFL tried to get DirecTV to do it, and YouTube was like, no, they're not doing it. We'll get it in November. So we'll see how this plays.
I agree with you. I told a friend of mine this week, I give it the over under on me leaving my house to go to a sports bar when I get frustrated with things. It's like 116 on Sunday. And it's funny you talk about Twitter, because I would love to see the anarchy going on Twitter, but I am so locked into the games that I don't usually check Twitter during the 1:00 game. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle it.
Here's another thing, Jimmy, by the way, I'm looking for is on streaming. There generally is a pretty big lag between the live games and not. And if you're watching Sunday Ticket and you're trying to do social media,
my next,
how is that
I have
going
it
to work
circled
out?
right here, the word latency. That was the next thing I was getting to with you.
We're thinking alike.
You
Great.
picked up my question, because here's the deal. So I have been with the U.S. Open. When you do live betting now this is on cable, on FiOS, ESPN. They're a solid 45 seconds behind, because on DraftKings, when you try to live bet, they're updating the score before the shots even happened. With YouTube and the NFL and the streaming, I mean, I could see them being like a full minute behind. And I remember months ago when YouTube first got the deal, this was maybe at the very beginning of the summer, I had reached out about the latency issue, and they said, we're going to try to work on it or something like that, like an off the record. I haven't heard a word about it. And I had latency written down to ask you if you've heard anything about
I
any
haven't heard
technology.
anything, but I haven't heard anything about it. But like in terms of storylines going forward, I mean that's a major one, and that's not just dealing with YouTube and Sunday Ticket. Like everything we just talked about with Charter and ESPN. Like if we're going to a streaming world, what is that going to do with all these prop bets or these in-game bets that everybody is like saying is going to be the next big thing?
I mean, listen, that's a huge issue. It's going to be a huge issue on Sunday with live betting in the NFL is a huge, huge thing. And I don't know how you're going to be able to do it if you're on Sunday Ticket. I do think, I mean, one thing I will say is I probably talk about Sunday Ticket way too much in terms of, when I saw the DirecTV number, I think it was 1.2 million subscribers to Sunday Ticket. I would have thought it would have been, I think you're the one who told me this on this podcast once before. It's really Red Zone that is what really that's Red Zone is what changed everything. I think if you didn't have Red Zone, more people may have Sunday Ticket. Red Zone is still probably what most people are into.
I must have been the one to say that because that was what I was going to mention next. And the NFL now is making Red Zone available for a fee if you get the NFL Plus app. So like, if you're a hardcore NFL fan, you can either pay whatever I don't know off the top of my head YouTube is charging, or you can pay $20 a month and check out Red Zone on the app. It's I'm shocked that they did that, to be frank.
I would bet money that there's a decent amount of people who were NFL Sunday Ticket subscribers on DirecTV who will not subscribe to YouTube just based on the reason of, well, I'll just get Red Zone.
Yeah, we'll never know. We'll never know that number, but
right.
I suspect that there are quite a few people that would be like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else we should know about this Disney Spectrum dispute? See, I it's interesting to me because I thought at first it was just a New York thing, and I didn't know how much I should discuss it, but clearly it's around the country. So are you finding, I've been surprised by how many of my readers and listeners have gotten in touch with me. In fact, as we're taping this, literally, I just got a tweet as we're taping this. Disappointed you've chosen not to use your voice to comment on the Spectrum cable situation, which is adversely impacting many sports television customers. This is not my domain. I'm not into the business side of it, so I try not to just throw off an opinion. And like I said, if you can get Fios, get Fios. That's all I can tell you. But is there anything else anyone should know about this before we wrap up that topic?
I cover sports media. This is the only story that I'm covering right now. It's all that matters because it is again, you're going to figure out where to get ESPN. And in the past, I would have suggested to people, just wait. Everybody has these arguments. Sometimes it goes dark. They'll come back. And if you go to YouTube TV, who's to say that they're not going to have this fight with ESPN in a couple of years when that contract is up? So I always recommended sticking around. This time it's different, and they're looking at these different metrics. In fact, if you call up Charter to disconnect and you get through after waiting for an hour or two, they're going to send you to different providers. They can say, like, look, you can get ESPN, at YouTube TV or things along those lines. So it's different. Like they don't seem to mind losing these video subscribers because again, their big profits are made on other businesses, not the if you go and subscribe to YouTube TV, but you remain a Charter broadband subscriber. Right. They're going to be happy.
Right. Well, that's the thing with Fios. You get it all in one shot. See, I had DirecTV and my internet was through Optimum. So I had to cancel both when I got Fios. And Optimum did not try to keep me as a broadband customer. And then as soon as I did cancel and I got Fios, then every day they were sending me stuff to keep me. I'm like, well, when I called to cancel, you didn't try to keep me. Now you're mailing me stuff every day. So which is it? The last thing I wanted to talk to you about before I let you go here, and I appreciate, because I know, I'm glad you told me that's all you're covering because I'm hearing a lot about it. I'm just curious, with the start of the NFL season, everyone knows I like to place a wager. I'm taken aback by, now listen, the branding is all over the place. I'm not talking about the branding, but if you remember whatever it was 3-4 seasons ago, at this time of year, every single commercial during every sporting event was for DraftKings and FanDuel. We don't really see the commercials. We see the branding. It's on the scrolls. It's, they're sponsoring the shows, but the commercials are not as prevalent. Where do we stand with the gambling sort of influx? Do you think companies are still trying to figure it out? Do you think it didn't become as big as people thought? Is it bigger than people thought? Where do we stand with all that stuff, do you think?
I don't think we can say yet whether it's as big as people thought or not. I do think that there's a strategy moving forward where it's going to be a part of the bottom line telecast, or it's going to be announcers are going to be talking about it more openly. Like, if it's a blowout game, like, oh, well, if they score a field goal, that'll get the over under, or who knows what. So that there are, it has become more a part of the programming. So I do agree. We are seeing fewer ads as it pertains to DraftKings and FanDuel. There's still a very big ad category. I mean, they're just not as big as when they were starting up. And what you're seeing instead is you're seeing them becoming much more indoctrinated, especially in the pregame shows, the postgame shows, the studio shows, a lot less with the on-game presentation, because the NFL, still doesn't like that a ton. But you're going to see it on you see fantasy scores on the, the bottom line, and you're going to see a lot more of that.
And with the ESPN deal where Penn split off from Barstool and then Penn made the deal with ESPN, what do we expect to see from ESPN in this with now that they're associated with Penn and the gambling?
I'm in the minority here, Jimmy, but I don't think we're going to see a ton different. ESPN already has gambling shows. Gambling talk already is a big part of a lot of the studio shows. Scott Van Pelt and the Bad Beats is a viral video that goes out, just about every night. Yeah. So I don't think that this is going to be a sign that ESPN is going to ramp up on this. I just think it's a sign that ESPN is now more willing to, put its brand, put its ESPN name on sports books, and collect, and it's more of a money making venture than a programming venture to me.
Got it. All right, John, appreciate it. Really, really do. Good luck to your Orioles in the postseason.
Let's go. Adley
Maryland football Saturday night on NBC. The country will be watching.
Maryland could go 2-0, Jimmy. It's a big game.
The country will be watching on Saturday night. Forget Texas, Alabama. It's all about Maryland. And who are they playing? Coastal Carolina? What?
No, we're playing Charlotte. There's
Charlotte. Excuse me. Sorry.
Come on. By the way, Maryland they've won the last 2 games against Texas.
There you go. To his brother, Maryland's always worth watching just for the quarterback. To his brother's over there, and he's a fun, exciting player.
Yeah, T is great.
Yep.
Hey, always happy to come on, man. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Sports Business Journal and the Marchand and Orion podcast. I tried to get Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson together on the podcast this week, and I was told they were doing your podcast, so you got me. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
All right, take care. All right, joining me now after a week off for Labor Day, back in the saddle. The NFL season is here. From WFAN Radio, 10 to 2, Monday through Friday, SNY TV in New York. My buddy Sal Licata. Sal, ready to go?
I could hear the excitement in your voice that the NFL season is here.
We've made it. I could do without these last 95-degree days, which is putting a little damper on my mood, but
yeah,
football season is here.
Global warming is real for sure. I mean, the fact that it's 90-plus degrees in September in New York, I want that fall feel. I want that crisp weather for football, not this heat.
I mean, I do too, but I'd be happy just if it was under 90 at this point. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. It is ridiculous.
Have you ordered Sunday ticket yet?
I have not at this current moment. Now, I'm in a predicament here. I'm a Falcons fan, but even more than that, I love watching these games. I've always had Sunday ticket probably since 1999 or whatever. But I want to focus on Jets and Giants. Problem is, Jets don't play till Monday, and the Giants play Sunday night. So
yeah, but
I might have to. I might cave.
But you're going to get 4 games locally in New York this week.
Are you sure about that?
99.9% sure.
And you don't know which ones yet?
Yeah. Browns, Bengals on CBS at 1. Steelers, Niners on Fox at 1. I'm pretty sure about those. 100%. Bears, Packers, 4 o'clock Fox, Eagles, Patriots, 4 o'clock CBS.
Interesting that we would get 4, but usually
week 1 and week 17, they do the doubleheaders for both networks, just for the first week and the last week.
All right, so maybe I don't.
Go ahead, you talk. I'm looking at my guide here to see if anything's.
Yeah, maybe I don't need it then, but if I want to watch the Falcons and Panthers, which I do because I'm kind of intrigued to what Atlanta could be this year, I don't know. Ultimately, I'm probably going to cave, but I'll tell you this. If you were to tell me that we can pick the game mix, I'd be in. Knowing that we can't is a turnoff, and also it's distracting. It is like during the Jets and Giants games, I don't want to be distracted, and I know if I have that ability, I'm going to want to put the games on.
The 4 games I gave you, that is accurate. Those are the 4 games we're getting locally in New York.
Okay.
But my thing is this. So if the Jets or Giants are playing at 1 o'clock, You don't want to
Right.
watch any other game. Is that what you're telling me?
Correct.
Oh, yeah, I would have to hang myself. I can't do that. I can't watch one game.
Well, the problem is because I got so used to, I used to be able to watch 3 at one time, and then I got used to having 6 or however many up at a time. And in reality, when you have 6 games on, you're not really watching any. And I need to watch the Jets and Giants for my job. Now, both of those teams are a lot of national games. So
I
there's going to be
not disagree with you more. Like, I can watch 3 games at once, no problem.
right, but I'm saying 3, yes, 6 or 7, no. You're not gonna have 3 games. Who are you bullshitting? You're gonna have the game mix on,
Right.
plus another TV, plus an iPad. You're gonna have 6 games on.
I'm going to watch every game, yeah. But what happens is, as the weeks go on, you eliminate teams. Like, by week 4, I'm not watching, like, the Bucks anymore. They're going to be the worst team. Like, and then you focus in on the good games.
I want to go old school though, because I used to, when it first started, watch just the Falcons and really nothing else, and I knew more about them than anything. And now it's like, yeah, I just watch what's going on all across the league, and I know a lot about the league and the results, but I don't know, it's a different way to watch it. I want to try to go old
Okay.
school. So as of now, no.
So week 2, I'm just looking quickly.
Yeah.
The Jets and Giants both play at 4:00 week 2.
That's a nightmare when they both play at the same time.
So right off the bat, you got an issue in week 2.
Yeah, what am I supposed to do for that? Like, I got multiple TVs, but
You stop being a bitch and you watch both games.
I know, but you can't watch both the way that you need to. You have to understand,
can.
like,
Yes, you
this
can.
is different. No, seriously, for a second, I'm 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday, talking to Jets and Giants fans who know their team better than anybody. I can't be calling my pants down saying, like, oh, I didn't see that play because I was watching this game or got caught up in that. That's the challenge that I have.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. And I'm just looking quickly. I mean, the Jets and Giants are all over prime time. It's unbelievable.
So you think that makes more of a case for me to get it or not to get it?
No, I think it doesn't. It makes a case not to, because you're going to get national games that aren't New York games when the New York teams are in prime time. But I'm looking here, like week 5, for instance, the Giants play the Dolphins at 1:00. So you're going to be totally fine not watching any of Ravens Steelers at 1:00.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah.
Okay.
And what are the Jets that week?
They play at 4:00 against the Broncos.
Right. So 2 things three things. Number 1, gambling, right? So betting on these games, I'm going to want to watch the games that I bet on. And I don't just go, well, this game's on TV, so I'll bet on that. So that's going to be an issue. The other thing is that I like having the game mix. And the other thing is that I like watching Atlanta. Like, that's my team. So even though I don't care as much, I still do care a little bit. Those are the 3 deciding factors if I get it.
I feel like I'm dealing with my nieces. Everything you say contradicts yourself.
I know. I'm saying those are the 3 reasons to get it.
You just want to watch Jets and Giants. You want to watch what you bet. You just want to watch Jets and Giants. You're a Falcons fan. You just want to watch Jets and Giants. You want the game mix. Which is it? Make up your mind. Doesn't sound like you're ready for the NFL season. Sounds like you got issues to work out.
So no, here's the issue. That normally I would do it the way that I've always done it. I don't think I can this year with the job that I now have. That's the issue. So I have to change the way I watch.
This you don't think you can. You better figure it out. It starts in like 3 days.
I told you I don't have it. I don't have the YouTube thing, so I'm okay.
Do you have any week 1 wagers ready to go?
No, I got to get my futures in. It's on my to-do list.
Not futures. I'm not futures. Week one bets.
I haven't even really. No, I'm going to bet the Jets and Giants. I haven't even really looked at the lines outside of that yet. I haven't. You have your picks already? It's Wednesday.
Well, no, I've done. Yeah, I've been scouting for like 3 months for the first week. The 3 games I know.
I hate week. You just know it's so hard with week 1. But go ahead.
I agree that you should definitely lay low in week 1. 100%. I found 3 games I like, so I'll probably bet like 3 or 4 games. The 3 games I love in week 1. I love the Jets plus 2.5 at home on Monday night against the Bills. I think it's 9-11. Aaron Rodgers' first game. He is so motivated to stick it up the Packers' butt. Like, I think he comes out They're at home. I'm not saying the season's going to be as good as everyone. Everyone thinks the Jets are going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that's happening, but I think I like them in week 1 in that environment. Eagles -4 at New England. I mean, Mac Jones, he's not getting the job done. The Patriots offense cannot keep up with the Eagles. There's just no way.
Right. The one thing they always do is seem to be competitive. I don't know what New England. Again,
Well,
I like
-4. -4. That's not,
All right. What else? What's the third?
And the third game that I love is the Saints -3 at home against the Titans. Ryan Tannehill, the Titans, I don't believe in them at all.
I hate the Saints. I think the Saints. I mean, I hate the Saints. So I'm rooting for.
But
this,
you mean hate them in terms of betting them, or hate them? You mean you hate the team? Like, well, I'm talking about.
I hate the team, and I also.
Well, that's irrelevant. I'm talking about -3. Get your mind straight. We're in a gambling world here.
I also don't believe in Carr or the head. I hate their quarterback head coach combination, Carr and Dennis Allen. Let me ask you this:
I love that. I love Carr over there because he was so miserable with the Raiders last year. He's ready to go. I love it. -3 at home. Love it.
Who are they playing again?
The Titans.
Oh, Titans. Yeah, I'll go with the Titans in that one. Anyway, now I'm thinking about how I'm going to go about my Sundays here. Like, should I just bet the games that are on national TV? Is that what I have to do?
No, you're supposed to bet the games you think will make you money.
Right, I know. Yeah, but then I need the YouTube thing.
You're a mess.
Anyway, yeah, I know. Well, that's why we need to have this conversation. You're showing me the light.
The last time we spoke, it was right after I had taped the Charles Barkley interview.
Oh, which was great. I listened to that. I loved it so much. He was great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I have to take 1 minute just to thank everybody. I had never gotten a reaction like that to a podcast before in my life. It was really unbelievable. I mean, I heard from so many people and just the most over the top compliments. And I do appreciate every single one of them. So many people have said to me too about how comfortable Charles was. And he talked to me like he knew me. And it's freaked me out a little bit. Like, why was he so good? I don't he's good on anything he does, but like, why? Like, he came to play and like, he doesn't know me. Like, we never spoken before. Like, it's bizarre because it was so good.
Can I tell you my number one thought after that, which I loved, aside from like wanting to hang out with you and Barkley in the sports book in Vegas, like I'd kill for that. Right. The number one thing was that, man, Michael Jordan must be some kind of fucking asshole, because how could, to your point, Charles Barkley, who seems so nice, he doesn't really know you, and he's talking to you like you're his best friend. He was respectful. He was kind. The way he was talking about everything, not just the conversation with you. My thought during it was like, man, Jordan must be such a dick. I couldn't believe that.
I don't know if I would say he's a dick or an asshole. I would say he just holds grudges, because if the beef is strictly over Barkley saying Jordan didn't do a good job as the owner of the Hornets, at some point Michael Jordan has to get over that. Like, you just have to get over it and move on.
But that's my point. Charles Barkley seems like the 3 dinner guest thing, or like he would probably be atop my list of anybody in the world to hang out with, period. Like Charles Barkley, Dave Letterman, maybe 1, 2 in that regard. And I've always loved him, but I thought it was even more with listening to you and him together. Like, even more so, maybe want to hang out with him, and just loved his personality and how kind he is. And I was like, man, what kind of guy would cut him off? How do you cut this guy off?
So I don't even know if I should tell this, but I'll just give the backstory quickly because I think people like this stuff. But let me just say, it's funny how this all broke down. So I got his number. I waited maybe a week to text him. Texted him this whole long thing. He wrote back right away, said, I know who you are. I'm a fan of your work. Let's do the podcast. Let's make it happen.
Wow. So
then when I get that text back, now I'm got to figure out how quickly do I pounce and say, let's do it right now. So wait a little while. I say, how about next week? Now this was on a Wednesday. So he didn't write back. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, no response. So now it's Monday. Now, if I don't have a guest booked by Monday, I start to panic and get anxiety. So I left it alone. I figured he's blowing me off. It happens all the time. Not a big deal. Booked Peter Schrager that week. So Schrager comes on, and we tape. Schrager and I tape on Tuesday afternoon. Sure enough, Tuesday night, Barkley texts me, how about we do the podcast tomorrow? Ooh. So now I don't want to be a dick to Schrager, and I didn't want to do them together. And I really wasn't able to tape Wednesday. I had something going on. That's why I usually tape Wednesdays, but I tape with Schrager on Tuesday. Because now listen, I had something going on Wednesday. I could have, maybe made it work, but I had some thing going on. So now I'm like, am I going to now respond to Charles Barkley and say that's no good for me? We got to.
I would have just said, dude, do it. Figure it out.
Oh, yeah, because I think I texted you when this was going on, right? Okay, yeah. I was like, what am I going to do here? Texted him, told him the situation. He's like, no problem. Do what you got to do. We'll do it next week. The next week rolls around. It was Sunday. I texted him. I said, how about this week? He said, Wednesday, this time. Boom, boom.
Wow.
Couldn't have been easy to deal with. Yeah.
Good God. That's what I mean. And just a lovable, he's always to me been lovable. And then listening to you guys talk just fell in love with him even more. And like I said, I just had that thought about Jordan, was like, man, I can't believe that these guys, that he would still hold a grudge. It's not Charles, put it that way. I know it's not anything Charles is doing.
I wish I could tell a story about someone else I've been trying to book who waits 3 weeks to return text messages and doesn't know and just.
I know who that is. That's still going on?
Now I'm done. I'm like, whatever.
Okay.
I'm not in the mood. You know what I have been into more than anything for like the past week and a half?
What?
I've watched it every day, every minute. The U.S. Open.
What?
Love it.
Do I know you?
I know. Well, I've always
Were you betting it?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, there you go.
No,
now
but even so. No, but I like watching tennis more than I like watching golf, hockey, soccer. I always but we've talked about this. The older you get, the more responsibilities you have. You can't pay attention to every single thing. So I can't watch random tennis tournaments in the middle of whatever. But the U.S. Open, I've always gotten into the U.S. Open. It's just such a cool New York thing. I used to go every now and again. I've heard the prices this year are ridiculous, but I'm into it this year. I'm very into the Djokovic Alcaraz rivalry. I've watched it every day. I have one complaint that I have to get off my chest. You don't care about this, but I just have to say this. And it's funny. My buddy Diesel was here on Sunday, and I said this to him. And then Dog said it on his show Tuesday, which annoyed me because I don't want people to think I'm saying this because Russo said it, but I said it myself, and I agree with this. So Chris Fowler does the U.S. Open on ESPN. Chris Fowler is excellent on tennis. Don't particularly love him on college football. Love him on tennis. He's great on tennis. But he leaves every other day to do college football. Now, I understand college football is going to get 10 million viewers and the U.S. Open is going to get 1 million or whatever it is. Like, yes, there's a massive ratings disparity between the two. But if you're the voice of the tennis on ESPN, you're the voice of the U.S. Open. I get it. You're also the voice of college. Just stick into the U.S. Open. No one's going to care if Chris Fowler misses a week 1 college football game. Nobody's going to care if he misses the first week of the college football season. And he jets off. He does it. And I don't know. I like the continuity of having him there for the big matches. So that's my beef with the U.S. Open.
The only thing I'll say on that is 2 things. One, I loved going to the U.S. Open the one time that I went. Other than that, I don't really care about it. 2, I never thought Chris Fowler was good on college football.
Wait, have you ever gone to the U.S. Open?
Yeah. Once. I went once and it was great. I had a hookup, actually. One of my friends used to work there. We were in some suite. I got to watch Federer. Yeah. I loved it. This was years ago. So it was a nice event. I like tennis. I just don't have the time to watch it now.
It's great in person, but I've heard the prices this year went nuts compared to past years.
I'm sure.
All right. Last thing before I let you go. Were you a Jimmy Buffett fan?
Define Jimmy Buffett fan. It's not that I don't like his music. I never purchased an album or a song.
Let's start with this. Do you know any other songs besides Margaritaville and Cheeseburger in Paradise?
Yes, and only because I just was listening to it this week. Volcano, I think it is.
See, those are the only two songs I know. So I wanted to check where you were with
Have you heard Volcano?
No, I don't know.
That was great. I just said, hey, I told the phone, I can't say it now because I don't want it to go off, but play that was the first one that came up. I heard the Cheeseburger one, I heard Margaritaville, which I knew, but Volcano I thought was excellent as well.
Yeah. But obviously, I know so many people who loved them. So that was one of those shocker ones. Like it was like, whoa, that guy, like, you
know what made me listen to it, aside from the fact that obviously he passed away, so it was on my mind. I was sitting in 3 hours of traffic from Long Island to the city, and I was like, I need something to put me in a good mood before I do something that I'm going to regret here, like drive my car into the wall. So I put on a little Margaritaville and Volcano, and it did the trick. It worked for a little while.
That's a good way to pay tribute to Jimmy Buffett. All right, Sal, we got to read reviews, but we'll do it next week because we did a lot here first week of the NFL season. We cannot wait to hear next week how you handled your first NFL Sunday. Cannot wait. So
yeah, what are you doing Sunday? What are you going to do? You're going to be watching from home?
I'm gonna be home. I have Sunday ticket ready to go. If there's glitches, I'll be at the main event by 1:15. I'm not waiting. I'm not futzing around. If it works at the beginning, I'll be home. If it's not working, I'll leave. So
that's another thing. All right, I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, that's another thing. We got to make sure it works.
Yeah, well, right. Week one, there's going to be problems.
Yeah. My Alexa's going off, and I have no idea why. Alexa off. Thing just went on for no reason. All right, Sal. Good luck with the wagers, and we'll check in on you next week. Hopefully, you're a little more centered.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. Later. All right. My many, many thanks to Julian Edelman, John Oran, Sal Licata. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did and you're not a subscriber, make sure you subscribe to SI Media with Jimmy Traina. Very important to subscribe. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. And if you missed any recent episodes, go into the archives, check them out. Greg McElroy, college football analyst from ESPN, and comedian Jared Freed were on the show last week. Big pod 2 weeks ago with Charles Barkley, Peter Schrager, Chris Russo in recent weeks as well. So check those out. Leave a review on Apple. Going to read them next week with Sal, and subscribe to SI Media with Jimmy Traina. All right. Enjoy week one of the NFL season. That wraps it up. We'll see you next week. Stay safe and take care.